Okay, this is lesson 1.5, combining like terms. Again, you are responsible for the warm-ups. If you need to check your warm-ups to see if they're accurate, please come and see me or go to the PACE lab. Okay, we're going to talk about combining like terms. The definition for combining like terms is on the screen. If you need to pause, go ahead. Like terms are terms with the same variable, that is letter, and exponent. When you have like terms, you add the number in front and you keep the letter the same. So, what does that mean? This number has an x, this number has an x. These are like terms. Okay? How do I combine like terms? I add the numbers in front, keep the letter the same. So, these two numbers have the same sign. 4 plus 10 is 14. I keep the x the same. Number 2, this has an x squared and this has an x squared. So I can combine these two numbers. These have the same sign, so I add them. 5 plus 9 is 14. 9 is negative, so my answer has to be negative. And then I keep the letter the same. You do not add the exponents. You keep the letter the same. Let's go down to number 4. Don't worry that this is in parentheses. That doesn't mean anything. There's a sign in between them, so that means you're either going to add or subtract. Number 4. Which numbers have the same letter? Negative 10 has an x. Negative 5 has an x. 3 does not have an x, so I cannot combine it with anything. Negative 10 minus 5 is negative 15. X plus 3. That's my answer. I cannot combine 3 and negative 15x because the 3 does not have an x. Number 5. 7 has an x. Negative 3 has an x. Notice how when I highlighted the 3, I highlighted the negative sign and the 3. That negative sign goes with that number. Negative 4 has a y. Negative 2 has a y. So I combine my 7 and my negative 3. 7 minus 3 is 4. Keep the x. Negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. Keep the y. Okay, go ahead and try 6 and 7 on your own, and then start the video once you get done with 7. Okay, we're going to do 7 together. 7, we have negative 6x squared and negative 4x squared. Now, 4x and negative 4x don't have a square, so they cannot be combined with the x squares. Your letters have to have the same exponent. So the only thing I can combine together is negative 6x squared and negative 4x squared. That gives me negative 10x squared. 4x minus 4x is plus 0x. Now, if you write this, I will not count it wrong. But what is 0x? 0x is nothing. So your answer is really negative 10x squared. Okay? But if you write the plus 0x, that's fine. Okay, so you should be able to do 8 and 9. Now we're going to talk about distributive property and combining like terms. Anytime you have a number on the outside of your parentheses, you have to multiply it to everything inside your parentheses. How do I know that that is distributive property and I need to multiply it to everything inside? Well, look at number 14. I have a negative 3 on the outside of my parentheses and a negative 4. So which one is my distributor? Well, your negative 3 is your distributor. How do you know? There is not a sign in between my negative 3 and my parentheses. That's how I know it's multiplication. That's how I know that's the one I multiply to everything on the inside. If you look over here at the negative 4, You see how there's a negative sign in between the 4 and the parentheses? That's how I know that does not mean multiplication, because there's a sign. So if you see a sign in between your number and your parentheses, that is not the number. That is not the number that you multiply everything in the parentheses by. Okay, as we go through, we'll try to clarify that. Okay, do you see a sign between the 2 and the parentheses? No. So that means that the 2 gets multiplied to everything inside the parentheses. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 5 is positive 10, because they're both positive numbers. Now, can I combine these two numbers? No. They don't both have an x, so that right there is my answer. This is my answer right here. Now, a lot of you don't like that that's my answer, because you want one little number to be your answer. But that's not the way algebra is. Okay, let's look at number 11. Is there a sign between my negative 5 and my parentheses? No. So that means my negative 5 must be multiplied to everything on the inside. Negative 5 times negative 4 is positive 20. Now, a lot of you just bring this sign down. You cannot do that. You cannot bring the sign down. You have to only bring down signs that go with the number. So let's look at this. What number is in front of the b that's understood? That's right. There's a 1 right there. So this is negative 5 times negative 1. Now, what's a negative times a negative? Yep, a positive. Negative 5 times negative 1 is positive 5. Your b stays with it. So this is actually 20 plus 5b. If you brought that negative sign down, you got the wrong answer. So you cannot bring signs down. You have to bring down the sign that goes with the number. Number 12, what's my distributor? Well, it's the negative 3. I do not see a sign in between the negative 3 and my parentheses, because it's in parentheses. And we know when you have two parentheses together, that means multiplication. So it's negative 3 times negative 6, negative 3 times 4c. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12c. Negative 3 times negative 6 is positive 18. You cannot combine these numbers, so that's your answer. You are responsible for number 13. Let's look at number 14. Let's go ahead and find out which one is our distributor. Negative 3, no sign. Negative 4, we have a sign. So there's a sign in between the negative 4 and the parentheses, so negative 3 is our distributor. Negative 3 times negative 5 is positive 15. The m stays with it. Negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. And then I simply bring down my negative 4m. Now, if you just brought this plus sign down, you'll have the wrong answer. You have to change the sign to the left of the number when you're multiplying if you need to. A negative times a positive is a negative. Now, here I have 15m and negative 4m. They both have m, so they can be combined. 15 minus 4 is 11m minus 9. Here I did just bring down the negative sign because it didn't change and it goes with that 9. Go ahead and pause the video and do number 15. When you get it done, we'll start it back up. Okay, let's see if you got the right answer. What is my distributor? Well, there's a sign between the 10 and the parentheses. So the 10 can't be the distributor. It has to be the 2. So I have to multiply before I add and subtract. If you added the 10 and the 2 and then multiplied it, you got the wrong answer. So I'm not going to do anything with my 10 right now, so I bring it down. I don't just bring down this plus sign, because 2 times negative 3 is negative 6y. 2 times 6 is positive 12. So now I have 10 and 12 don't have letters, so they can be added. 22 minus 6y. Okay, if you didn't get that answer, find your mistake. If you need to, come in and ask for help. Okay, the rules stay the same for these next 4, so go ahead and give them a try. Now we have this minus sign right here. When you see a minus sign next to parentheses, there's really a 1 right here. And there's a 1 right here. So this says -1 times -4y minus 6. So I bring my 5 down. So I'm not going to do anything with it yet. And I'm going to distribute my -1 because there's no sign between the -1 and the parentheses. So I have -1 times -4. Negative times negative is a positive 4y. -1 times -6 is positive 6. So if you brought this negative sign down or this negative sign down, you'll have the wrong answer. You cannot do that. You have to do the math and then put the proper sign to the left of the number. 5 plus 6 is 11, and then I bring down my plus 4y. I didn't just bring this plus sign down. The 4 is positive, so I have to tell you the 4 is positive here. Okay? Okay, that's the combining like terms lesson. If you have any questions, please feel free to come in and ask. Thank you. Have a nice day.